So, things you should be aware of in yourself that can warn you that you might become a victim of Scientology. That's what we're going to be talking about today, guys, because we are in day 14 of whatever this is. If you want to know whatever this is, go and check out the second link in the description box, first video, and you'll know what this is all about. But in this video, I'm going to be breaking down. So we're about all these days in. I'm in mid-research of Scientology, and we're kind of switching gears slightly now because we've been focusing a lot, or I've been focusing a lot on getting to the grips of the deep understandings, the deep dark, what's going on at the very core. What is this whole ideological concept? Is that even a phrase? Of Scientology? Like, what is this? What is this? Where does it come from? What do these people actually believe? And what is, because there has to be something, right? So we've been doing that now for the most of the days. Now I'm switching gears slightly because now it's like, now that I have a better understanding of what this monster is, now I'm going to start talking more about the people actually affected by it. So for this video, I want to talk about how to prevent yourself from becoming a victim to this. Because the reason why is I really truly believe Scientology is one of the best curated traps of the kingdom of darkness, because it pulls on a lot of our insecurities as people, a lot of the things we're all going through, including myself, in the world. And so I'm going to warn you guys. Hopefully, if I could warn anybody, I would hope that these videos would reach somebody considering Scientology to deter them. Right. And I'm going to talk about all the different things that they use and the ways they utilize it and give you guys a perspective, because I believe that, as per you guys who've been on my channel for a long time, shout out to the winning team members. Y'all are my favorite people ever, by the way. The winning team people are my favorite people ever, by the way. Just so you guys know, you guys are my actual favorite people. To the extent I talk about people in my real life, I'm like, yeah, everybody on the winning team, like on YouTube, and they're like, what's this YouTube thing you do? Like, I'm like, you don't even know how cool these people are. Anyway, so let's talk about it. Now, in order to get us warmed up into why I'm about to give you guys the truth here, I'm going to state my case. I'm going to make my claim. I'm going to make a statement about why what I'm going to say is going to make sense. And we're going to go back to L. Ron Hubbard. And let me tell you guys why. I've said this before. I'm a believer that a lot of the people in the world who do the things that they do, a lot of the evil that goes on, they get away with it because we never have somebody to pinpoint, and people don't spend enough time going back to the origin of where a lot of this stuff comes from. So we have a lot of anger, upset, resentment towards situations, but we're not pinpointing anybody. There's no one who's being specifically held accountable. It's just we're all upset in general. Not over here. Over here, I am focusing on him because he's the brainiac of the situation. He's the one who founded all of this stuff, although a lot of his stuff he stole from others and just copyrighted, but that's another story for another day. And I think his experience and the stages that led up to him forming all of Dianetics and Scientology tells us exactly what to look for to prevent ourselves from getting caught up. Now, the first thing about L. Ron Hubbard that sticks out to me as something you should recognize as a human to prevent yourself becoming a victim is he was an observer. Now, as somebody who's extremely observant myself, I'm a scientist, and I would say observing is one of my skills that I have in life. That's why I have a lot of alternative opinions to other people, because I sit and I truly observe the world as it is, and I make personal judgments about stuff, as in, like, I really just look at it from an outside perspective as much as possible, and don't include my feelings or my thoughts. I just observe the world. And so a lot of the observations L. Ron Hubbard has made are the same observations I've made, right? Which is that people, and this is where these things, if you factor into any of these are the things that are going to make you susceptible to falling into something like Scientology. First of all, one of his observations is that one thing that we all have in common, whether cultural or primitive, according to him, is our need for survival and our dedication to surviving, right? I think we can all accept that. So again, all of these things, observable things, in and of themselves, not a bad thing. When you apply it to the fact that somebody can use it as a weapon against you, that's where we have the issue. Because if somebody is offering you an offer that you think is going to benefit or add to your chances of survival, then they have exerted a certain level of power over you. So that's part one, right? So if you're susceptible to stuff, and we see that in the entertainment industry a lot with these record deals that people sign, the industry will find somebody who's just innocently on the internet or performing in person somewhere. They're in a tough spot. Their family's just trying to make it. They can't do anything. They get you to sign a contract. They get you into all this stuff. And before you know it, you've signed up for stuff that you can't afford. You signed up for stuff, that you can't afford, but they're giving to you for free. But then you're actually in a horrible deal. You don't own your own music. You don't own any of your own stuff. In fact, you make pennies off of your own money. I think it was the Pussycat Dolls, who are my favorite female group, because can I just say, no one can compare with the Pussycat Dolls. No female group can compare with the flexibility of those women. I don't care. So for me, those girls are the top of all the female girl groups that ever were. Pussycat Dolls. Love them. Anyway, I know that's so whatever people would think of me, but love the Pussycat Dolls. Anyway, they were being paid peanuts by the industry because the industry was taking most of the money. So your need for survival, observation that L. Ron Hubbard made, right? Then also the need for leadership, the wanting of answers of what your purpose is, helping you to be able to achieve things that are being prevented due to your own mental health issues. That's one of the biggest things in the world right now. Well, in the Western world, is this whole mental health stuff, which I don't think is bad, because I really do believe we're plagued with mental health issues in all generations, right? That's why I think a lot of the older generations are very salty at the moment for the younger generations, because, yeah, we've all got a lot of issues and they're hard to deal with. Yeah, Scientology weaponizes that. We'll help free you from your reactive mind. We'll help you to take all that stuff away so you can live. This is how they get you. We'll help you to live a life where it's the vulnerability. This is what the Kingdom of Darkness does so well, is catch us out when we're in places of vulnerability, desperation, need. All of those things are areas in which we are supposed to receive God, who will help us along that journey, right? But instead, the Kingdom of Darkness wants us to partner with them and get caught up with what they're doing, and to only make those things worse. That's why people will listen to Scientology and think, oh, I'm happy in my life. I'm this, I'm married, I have a family, I'm doing well enough, but I have this stuff that I want to figure out. They're like, it's great, we can help you with that, but they'll make it worse. By the time you realize it's worse, you're in too deep and you've signed too many contracts and you can't get out of it. And this is what I mean, us as humans, let me be very real with you guys. The reason why I'm making this video and the reason why I'm talking about this in particular is because I really want everyone to find and have what will genuinely put them in the best position in life. All of you. Winning team, and even those of you who don't realize you should be a part of this yet. I want for everyone to have what will really bring you to true joy in this life. Genuine joy, happiness, thriving, freedom. Whatever that looks like for you. That's why I can't even be specific, because we're all different. We all have different things we want to do. We all have different whatever. And I'm whatever it is for you, praise Jesus, whatever it is, the way that looks for you. And so I know that because God created us to want that, because he created us to have that with him, the Kingdom of Darkness tries to take on the opportunity to give that to us in a untruthful, unrealistic, unreal type of way, but gets us in enough that we believe in it. We're invested because we're all looking for that, because I believe God created that inside of us so that we would have a relationship with him. And it can be exploited by others. And then that's why, and this is the thing, guys, I want you to understand that I hate to say it like this, but I have to inform the world that the world isn't as nice of a place as you might want to think it is. I'm sorry to say it. I'm sorry to be the one. I'm not sorry, but I'm sorry that that's the case. But I'm not sorry to tell you, because there's this thing I've noticed in society. Bearing in mind, guys, I'm 26 years of age. So I do take my age into account a lot. And I'll tell you why. Because people are very condescending towards me. That's why I don't really like people in general. I'm not going to lie. People talk to me in a very condescending manner as if like I'm an idiot because I'm 26, just because of my age. I'm like, sir, ma'am, no offense. A lot of you talking to me like an idiot, you're the real idiots falling for these traps. And I'm not talking about Scientology specifically, because I think it's one of the best. I actually don't blame people for falling into Scientology at all. It's one of the best, well-crafted, curated forms of Satanism I've seen in my life. Religion. I'm like, I can't think of a religion that has better curated themselves as the perfect trap than Scientology. Right? But, this thing that we all have as humans is what gets weaponized against us. This need of help with our issues, this need of help to figure it out, because we're supposed to have God, our Father in our lives, who does that job. God, Jesus, the Holy Spirit. That's what they're supposed to do with us. But when we don't have that, we are lost in a lot of ways, because there's things that people can't sort out. You can have the best, people around you, and it won't be enough. And it's not that they're not enough. It's not that they aren't exactly the perfect thing that they're supposed to be in your life. It's that there is nothing that can replace God in your life, if that makes sense. But then that's what the kingdom of darkness will try and catch you up with, and they'll try and get you with all this mental health malarkey. Oh, yeah, you're just going through this because you need to hear from God about how loved you are, and we just want to bring you in and remove your reactive mind, because your reactive mind is what's preventing you from everything you could have, should have. That's what they do. They pull you in thinking that they're the answer. That's what the kingdom of darkness does. That's what I think is absolutely incredible. As somebody who's on this side of things and who believes in God and Jesus, I find it absolutely incredible how people will go for the thing. Like, it's like, the way I look at it, it's like going into a shop. And in the shop, you want to buy a steak. I love how I always use steak as the choice here, guys. Anyway. You go into the shop, you want to buy a steak, and then you have a steak that looks like the best steak. You can see that this is real beef, right? And next to it, there is like an apple. And the apple has a sign in it that says, the best A5 Wagyu steak you've ever had in your life. And because we would rather believe the label than the actual substance, we will pick the apple. That's what I look at us as humans as. You can see a steak, you can see the truth, but you know why? Because we are susceptible, that we are dying for the A5 Wagyu steak, to the point that we will choose something that's not even, we will choose the apple just because it says A5 Wagyu steak. I must be making the mistake. I must not understand. I must be the problem. That's one of the lies of Satan. The best lies of Satan. I must be mistaking this apple. It must be a steak. This must be a mistake. Catch that, right? And you will take it. Why? Because we are that desperate as humans, and we're that lost at the same time. I think we're lost as people. I really do. Like, I really think we're lost. Like, I don't know, guys. I'm a real person. I can't tell you. I don't know what to tell you guys on here. Sometimes I'm like, I think about what I want to say, and I think it's a bit far, like, to say these wild things. But, like, what can I tell you guys? I'm just telling you what I observe of my existence as a human being on Earth. We don't clearly know what we're doing. We clearly don't. People don't have stuff figured out. I'm sorry to tell you, but when I look at most people, especially most adults, most of them I don't think have any valuable information that I want to take from them. Because I'm like, you're looking just as plagued as the rest of us. You're looking just as having as many problems as the rest of us. We're all just as susceptible. And that's what I'm saying, guys. It's not something to be like beating yourself up about. It's natural, unfortunately. It's fleshly. And that's actually why I have such an issue with this whole concept from L. Ron Hubbard of men and women are mostly good with evil added. No, we're not. We're mostly stupid and sinful. We're mostly foolish alone. And I don't mean that in a way to make you feel bad. I mean that in a way to give you contentment in that. Thank God we have God who can guide us, and thank God that we can accept that we don't have stuff figured out, and you won't have stuff figured out. And I can say that because I've accomplished more than a lot of people in my own very humble number of years I've been on this planet. So when people try to talk about, oh yeah, this, that, and the other, I'm like, well, I've kind of done a lot myself. Like, this really isn't my first rodeo. You know what I'm saying? I've really done a lot in my short life here. And so I can say that because I know that we're humans. We're all humans. We all have these needs. And if I can be honest with you guys, I just think we live in a world where we're spending so much time online, in life, trying to hold up these caricatures, these facades of people who we want people to see us as, like hiding who we truly are, like hiding how we truly feel because we don't feel safe anywhere, right? To be ourselves, which is what I think a big portion of anxiety in society comes from, is that in and of itself. It's not safe to be yourself. It's not safe to have your own opinion. It's not safe to be your own person. It's not safe to be honest about how you feel about anything, right? In society. And so that what happens is we internalize all of that. We deal with that on our own. We shut everybody out, including God, right? And then we become susceptible to the things like Scientology that are just like, we're going to free you from your reactive mind. Yada, yada, yada. Like, guys, I'm being honest with you guys because I know this. As somebody who's a scientist, it's very easy for me to just click into my science logic brain and ignore my human nature. It's easy for me to do that. Science is easy for me. Science, maths is easy because it's numbers, it's logic. It's not about my feelings. It's not about your feelings. It's not about the world. It's not about nothing. X is this. If X is this, X is that. If whatever it is that's how it is. Like, that's very comfortable for me. But I also realize, and I've realizing more, that what goes on the inside of me is sometimes things I don't necessarily want to address or talk about, right? Shout out to the Lord trying to get me to talk about things I don't want to talk about in my fasting period, which is not good because I'm like, God, I don't want to talk about this, right? But then also, it's those things that make you susceptible to things like Scientology. It's the things that we ignore. It's the things we don't say out loud. It's the issues that we have that we're trying to deal with, that we're trying to deal with on our own without God, that we're trying to deal with on our own without people, which could be because the people can't do it, which is fair enough because people can't replace God. It's not that people are just, the problem ultimately altogether. We are problematic, but the fact is only God can fill that role entirely, right? And then we become susceptible to stuff like this where we think, oh, well, this is going to free my reactive mind. Yeah, we're going to help you with all of that. Like, this is what they were saying to me when I went to my do you guys actually know how it ended with my whole interview? So I went to the Scientology thing and the interview, and I was very honest. I was honest with the guy. I was like, I'm going to give this honestly, and because I want to see what it would be like if I was an honest person coming into the experience, right? So I didn't try to play games. I answered all the questions, those 200 questions, honestly. It was a lot of questions. I couldn't be bothered. But I answered the questions honestly, and I was very honest with the guy who was interviewing me. And as we were talking there, the guy, and this is genuine, full-blown, my honest experience here, right? So in my graph that I was given by the Scientologists, right? The guy was like, oh, you're like, he was basically trying to tell me that I'm depressed. That's what he was trying to tell me, like, you're depressed. And which I got where they got that because of the way they asked the questions. It was very, like, more so, they were asking a lot of questions about how you feel about people, not how you feel in your own existence. So if you ask me how I feel about people, I live in the real world. I don't trust people. I don't assume people are good people. That's just how I am. Like, it doesn't mean I'm depressed. It just means that I don't trust people. I'm not stupid enough to just automatically trust people. Right? Doesn't mean I'm depressed, you know what I'm saying? But he was like, oh, there's something clearly here that's like the reason why. Da, da, da. And so then he starts trying to talk about all my issues and things I've been through and how they can help go through these things and remove my reactive mind and all this about this stuff. And I remember thinking to myself, as a Bible-believing, Holy Spirit-filled follower of Jesus Christ, who is my Lord and Savior, thinking, what you're trying to offer me, this cannot compare to what God is offering me. Like, and I tell people all the time, like, a lot of religious folk who try to come with their, oh, we're going to help you with this, we're going to help you with that. I'm like, I tell them, like, I have God already. Like, I had this situation with a woman. She was like, how to create anything you want. If you just make a decision, the universe has to shift with everything decision you make. I had one of these types of people come into my life. Well, approach me on LinkedIn, funnily enough. I need to delete my LinkedIn, actually. I really need to delete it because I keep getting people trying to sell me and whatever. And she was like, yeah, like, do all this. Like, I was just like, look, all of the stuff you people are trying to tell me is in the Bible. Everything that, even this guy, he's like, oh, we're going to help you remove your actor. I'm like, listen, the Lord is working. In fact, the Lord is actually helping me by being here with you, making me realize, wow, I must be on the right side because you're just talking trash. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's what you think? I'm looking at this guy. I'm like, you don't live the lifestyle that I want to live. Your life doesn't look, the way you even look and you're conducting yourself is not representative. And then you want to tell me, oh, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's such a shame that you don't live here in Edinburgh. We would have been doing all these sessions with you. I was thinking, it's so funny that you actually think I would be showing up to those sessions. It's so funny that you think I was going to choose to be here, that I actually see you as the solution. Because a lot of the stuff he said was right. He was like, it seems like you're lacking clarity. You're lacking clarity. And I was like, you're right. And the clarity that I'm lacking is that y'all don't know what you're talking about. And none of you, any of you know what you're talking about except from God. Like, that's what's actually funny. Every time the Kingdom of Darkness tries to, like, you know, involve me or recruit me or convince me, any of his agents in all the various areas and religions, it always ends in me being like, yeah, God is for real. Kind of like me in science when I was studying my degree, and people would be like, how can you study science and be a Christian? Like, it was like a big thing people would ask me about. My degree pushed me to the Lord more than anything. That's why I learned about the law of entropy. That's when I realized that science is just all a bunch of theories that change every 5 seconds. That's when I learned that at the highest levels of science, quantum mechanics, quantum this, that, and the other, that people think is so fascinating and so impressive, is a bunch of equations that are based off of assumptions. Well, we don't know what E equals or this equals, so we're going to assume it's this based on this. So at any moment, whatever that thing is that we've assumed can change. So this is completely untrustable. But then the world will look at science and say, oh yeah, that's so trustworthy. That's what you should believe in. That's like the facts of the matter. Guys, I've just been through so many stuff with all these different religions, and I just think, you know, what it's taught me, and this is my point, is that we as humans are in need. We're in need. We are in need. We're in need of guidance. We're in need of help, healing. Like, think about what Jesus did when he came. When Jesus came, he was casting out demons. He was doing healing. He was shifting people's lives into order. You know what I'm saying? And pointing them to God, like the woman he bumped into. He's like, you've had 5 husbands, and the husband you're with now, he's not your husband, which is a wild statement. God, like, the water that I will give you, you shall never thirst again. Like, these words are deep, not because they're just like some spiritual thing you heard on a Sunday before that made you feel like you're going to hell, but because he's trying to say that this satisfaction, this help that you're searching for in the world, in places like Scientology, is not going to help you. It's not going to get you there. It's going to be the wolf in sheep's clothing. It's going to be like the Bible said, the enemy comes disguised as an angel of light. When I think about those types of words that God says, I think about how quick we are as humans to again rely on our human wisdom to say, oh, this person looks trustworthy. Why? Because she's a woman, because she's a mother, because she's this, because he does this, because he does that, because whatever, right? We trust people ultimately because of the way that they come across in our viewpoint, in our wisdom as humans, even though the second chapter of the Bible. Here's my Bible. Let me just check quickly. Of Genesis, right? Is it second chapter? Third chapter of the Bible. We see how human wisdom does not pay off, but yet we still trust in it. Yet we still think that this is the way, and then we wonder how we find ourselves in issues. And then here's the other thing that makes it worse, is that other people make those decisions around us that bring us into those situations. So now we've all got this confused version of reality where I didn't ask for these things to happen to me, or some things I didn't ask for this, or whatever. And then on top of that, you're trying to do the best that you can. And then on top of that, you've got the people who claim to be people of God who are doing heinous crimes. And it becomes this very messy situation in society where, yes, I get why people turn to things like Scientology and think it's actually something to trust in. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so it's just a lot. Like, all I'm trying to say to you guys is, listen, I'll keep it real with you guys. I've basically decided on YouTube, like, I'm going to try and be as try to make everything perfect as possible, because I really care, and I genuinely care, and I think about the fact that I think people are going through real stuff, that, like, cute little videos on social media that just like are just so perfect and like everybody's highlight reel. Like, I don't know if people realize this on my channel and on my presence in the world, that it would be very easy for me to do that stuff, you know, as well. I've been there. It'd be very easy for me to wake up, put on all these outfits, do my makeup, do my hair, like take all these photos, completely superficial, unimportant, right? And then have a channel about very superficial things. I'm not against that, because a lot of those types of content are the things I watch to decompress my brain from thinking about all this stuff. I love that. But my point is, I care about you guys. I care about you all. I care about every single life, because I believe God put everybody on this earth for a reason. Every single human being. Whether your parents are happy that you're here, whether society is, whether you've ever felt like you belong, whether you've ever felt like you've had a purpose, that's irrelevant. God has you here for a reason. God brought you here. And that's why it absolutely brings me to tears watching videos about babies. And like, there was a video I think I watched earlier today or yesterday, I can't really tell, but there was a baby who was born at like 10, 15 weeks or something, because the mum was struggling, and then the doctors decided to operate, and this baby, tiny little baby, was given birth to. I said 10 weeks. I don't mean 10 weeks. I mean, like, they were like 10 weeks early or something, or 20 weeks early, something like that. And I just thought, like, for us as humans, we look at that child, that baby, and we think, God, like, that child, if they survive, this is a miracle. And to God, it's like, what do you mean? I decided, like, I planned, I love that child. That child is going to be here. That child I love so much is going to be here. That child's life is decided. They're going to be alive because they have a purpose on this earth. You know what I'm saying? And one of my friends, I don't have a lot of friends, but I reconnected with one of my female friends from the past recently, and because I dreamt about her. I dreamt about her last year. We weren't talking, we hadn't spoken in years. I dreamt she was pregnant. Turns out she was actually pregnant. So that's why now every time I dream about her, now I'm like contacting her. So I dreamt about her. She turns out she was actually pregnant. We hadn't spoken in years. I dreamt she was pregnant. She was actually pregnant. And I might have dreamt she was pregnant before she actually knew she was pregnant. Anyway, crazy story. And then we spoke, and I just spoke with her for a while. Now she has her baby girl, and her baby girl is like 6 months old. Beautiful child, obviously, whatever. But the reason why I'm mentioning her is, get this, guys. She is, to me, probably the best female friend I've ever had in my life, right? We met at university. She used to beat all the guys in pool. And we were both sporty girls. We both, like, you know, had a lot of male attention. We were like very good friends, because she's one of the few female friends I've ever had who was very positive about me in general. And she'd always say these funny things that I'd be like, really? Do you think so? She was very sweet in that way. And then we ended up going to church together and stuff. And now she's married with her daughter. And guys, do you know that her mum was R-worded? She's the child of that type of situation. She's the best friend I've ever had. Like, and it's crazy when I hear people talk about, I'm not saying anybody who goes through that should do that, because I've been through that myself countless times, actually. So I'm not saying this as some, like, I don't know what this is even like, and I'm just like judging from outside of the club. I'm inside the club. I know what it's like to go through that. I'm not saying anybody has to keep or do it. I'm not telling anybody what they should do if they're in that situation. What I am saying is that her life is so valuable, despite how her circumstances of how she came to be here, despite everything. And that's what sticks out to me, guys. That's what makes me think about God. That's what makes me love God, because God is like, even when us as humans continue in these heinous behaviors, he has a way of turning those things around. He has a way of, and like seeing her in this role, she's not like me. Like, I'm a very kid person. I love babies and I love young babies. A lot of people like, I can't do the young babies and they're super young. I prefer them when they're a bit older. I love newborn babies. Like babies when they're very small, I love them at that age where they're just, you know, they're new, they're precious, they're innocent in this world. I love babies. I love all kids, to be honest. If it was up to me, guys, I would happily just, any kid that needs a home, hi. Honestly, I love the babies at that age as well. I love them at all ages. And she's not like me in that way. She's like the opposite, which is what's funny. Like, she loves her own kid, but she's not about to be like in love with every kid, which you do, you queen. You don't have to love every kid. Like, again, like I said to you guys, I'm not somebody who expects everybody to be like me. I'm like, live your life the way that's right for you. But my point is, of mentioning all of this and sharing all of this with you guys, is that every life is so valuable. Like, if she adds that much value to me after everything that her mum went through and she's been through just to be alive, and the circumstances in which she's alive. And guys, she's like in training to be a priest at the moment with her husband. Is it a priest or something? I can't remember exactly. But she's like, and she's literally, like I said, the best female friend I've ever had. To me, like the one of the few people I've ever actually had who actually loves and accepts me for who I am in real life is her. You know what I'm saying? And so even if the world looks at this and at the other, like whatever, like to me, she means a lot to me. If you know what I mean, in that regard. Because I'm like, to be able to say that, for us to have started off as these like young girls in university and beating all the guys at pool and going to all these parties together, yada yada. Then we went to church together. It was her idea, not even mine. Because I told her one week, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to church. We tried to go to this church. Turned out that church was a cult. We both left that church. She found another church. We started going to that church together, which is where she met her husband. Anyway, and boom. And, you know, and that's what my point is with all of this in the Scientology stuff, is that, you know what, God wants to really bring us into something where every single part of our lives, every single part of our past, present, and future is part of purpose, and it's part of why he brought you here, and is part of all of that. And despite everything negative, he loves you regardless. You know what I'm saying? And it's not that he loves her or anybody or his mum more because she kept the baby, and another person because she didn't. It's that God is here for all his kids, all of us, all his children. And it's only him who can do what is necessary for us. So when we put ourselves in the place of falling for these traps like Scientology and all this stuff, which claims to help us remove this stuff, when in reality it's going to add to it, because you cannot compete with God. You can't compete with God explaining or giving you the assurance and understanding as to why the things in your life happened the way they did. In Scientology, it's like, just delete everything. Just come here. We're going to help you. But really, if we're being honest as humans, we want answers for a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions that we want answers for. And those questions that we want answers for are going to come from God. You know what I'm saying? And that's why even my friend I mentioned, is funny because me and her, she's the type of friend who, like, she will always get into these, she's very, like, passionate person. She always gets into these arguments with people about abortion, obviously because of her experience. And she'll tag me. She'll be like, girl, these people are doing this, like, back me up. Like, these people are coming for me in the comment section. And I love it because of what she's been through and how God has not allowed that to stop her from thinking that she deserves to be here, from negating the fact that she has a purpose on this earth. You know what I'm saying? And for me, seeing that the purpose in my mind is where I don't trust anybody. I don't trust no one. Not one person on earth that I trust. But having her in my life is a huge blessing. And to think that how she came into this life, God rewrites our stories in a way that when you go to places like Scientology, you can't compete to get that kind of a surety, understanding, and sense of purpose, belonging, and loving that can only come from God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit. That's all I gotta say, y'all. If life's a game, let's play to win. I know this is deep, but here you go. And I'll see you guys in my next one. Love you all.